Now the third topic that we are going to take is very important, India Antarctica Bill 2022. Let's look as to what it is. The Lok Sabha has passed this bill. Usually people say that bills are not important. When I see that a bill has been passed in Lok Sabha, I believe that it will be passed in Rajya Sabha as well, and that is why I bring them into the class. Okay, now Lok Sabha has passed the Indian Antarctica Bill 2022. Let's look at a bit at what is Antarctica. First of all, Antarctica, what is the definition of Antarctica first of all? As you can see from here, or maybe from here, the South Pole, this point is South Pole, right? Antarctica is the southernmost part of the world. Antarctica is the southernmost part of the world. Okay, so anything that lies below this line, okay, 60 degrees south, anything that lies below that line is a part of Antarctica. Usually Antarctica is this, okay, but anything, for the consideration of the law, anything that lies south of the 60 degrees south latitude, that will be called what? That will be called Antarctica. Right. So I hope you understood what is Antarctica for the purposes of the law. Okay, now Antarctica, unlike the Arctic, Antarctica, unlike the Arctic, is a global common. Now, what is a global common? Global common. Global commons. First of all, Antarctica. Okay? Second is, for example, moon. The third is high seas. Anything that is not being owned by one specific country, that becomes a global common. Okay. One point to note here is Antarctica is a global common, whereas Arctic is not a global common. Arctic is not a global common. Okay. That is a very important point to note. Okay. Arctic is not a global common, whereas Antarctica has been declared a global common. That means no one can own it. Okay, no one can own it. It will be available for everyone. Now let's look at what are the specific treaties that protect Antarctica. The first one and the most important is Antarctica Treaty 1982. Antarctica Treaty was Antarctica Treaty 1959. It was signed in 1959 but came into effect in 1961. And India ratified it in 1982. It declares Antarctica as a global common and it also demilitarizes it. It declares that Antarctica shall be demilitarized. It should only be used for research purposes and scientific explorations at max. It also mandates that any kind of permanent structure cannot be built in Antarctica. Any structure that is being built, when the purpose is over, it has to be dismantled and taken out of Antarctica by every brick. Okay. Then comes second CCAMLR. CCAMLR means Convention on the Conservation of Antarctica Marine Living Resources. Okay. Now this Antarctic Ocean around the Antarctica, the continent of Antarctica contains a lot of fishing grounds. Okay. It is a source of huge amount of krill. Krills are the basic food of fishes. Okay. If the krills are in large amount, then fishes will also be in large amount. Okay. Now, to prevent overfishing of the fishing stock in Antarctica, okay, CCAMLR, this treaty was signed in Canberra in 1980, okay, to protect this environment, marine environment. ठीक है, marine environment from overfishing and overexploitation. Okay. India signed it in 1985. Then comes Madrid Protocol. Madrid, okay. The Madrid Protocol on the environmental protection of Antarctica Treaty. It strengthens the Antarctica Treaty. It is a protocol. Treaty is a treaty signed between the countries. Like a law is enacted by parliament or state legislatures, and then comes the rules under the law. Okay. Similarly, when a treaty is enacted, there are certain protocols to be followed for the implementation of that treaty. Okay. So Madrid Protocol is within the Antarctica Treaty, and it strengthens the environmental protection of Antarctica. Then comes COMNAP. India is also a part of Council of Managers of the National Antarctica Program, because India has 2 bases right now in Antarctica and is only among the 9 countries which have more than 1 base. Okay. India established its latest base in 2012, that is Bharti, and it is very high end base, and it is the base from where deep exploration missions are carried out inside the Antarctica. Okay. So these are the treaties which govern the operation of any kind of research activity within Antarctica, and these are the treaties which protect Antarctica as a global common. Okay. India's position on Antarctica. Now let's look at what India's position is. Now, Treaty of Antarctica was signed in 1959. It came into act in 1961 and India signed it in 1982. The aim is to demilitarize Antarctica, to establish a zone free of nuclear test and disposal of nuclear waste, okay, to ensure that Antarctica is used for peaceful purposes, and to promote international scientific cooperation for Antarctica to set aside apart from any national sovereignty. No nation can own it, okay, and it should be put aside from the disputes of national sovereignty, okay, so that it can be available to everyone for the common good of humanity. Antarctica is considered global commons. India set up its first base in Antarctica in 1981 when India signed this treaty, Antarctica Treaty. India's latest base was set up in 2012, Bharti. It also commissioned a Sagar Nidhi, a C-class ice vessel. Oh, ice-class sea vessel. Ice-class sea vessel means a sea vessel which is able to break ice and walk through it. Okay. So India commissioned the Sagar Nidhi for scientific researches. Okay. Antarctica. Now let's look at what Antarctica Bill, India Antarctica Bill 2021-22 does. The bill seeks to extend jurisdiction of Indian courts to the continent of Antarctica. Now Indians are living there, permanently stationed Indians at Bharti center. Okay, Indians are living there. To extend the jurisdiction of Indian courts, because Indians are living there where people, there are crime, there are punishment, there are crimes. Okay. To deal with any kind of such legal challenges, this bill seeks to extend the jurisdiction of Indian courts to that part of, to Antarctica, to like punish or to bring to the justice any kind of crime that might happen there, okay, or violation of Antarctica Treaty if that happens. Aim is promoting Antarctica as a natural reserve that is devoted to science and peace, okay, and to ensure that Antarctica does not become the point of international discord, okay. And the bill seeks to enforce this Antarctica Treaty, which was signed by India in 1981, and whenever a country signs this treaty, it is obligated to make a law that to give effect to that treaty. That it is a treaty, it is not a law, but to give effect to that treaty, a country has to enforce its own domestic legislation. Now, what are the features of the bill? The provisions of the bill will apply to any person. Now, applicability is any person, vessel or aircraft that is a part of Indian expedition to Antarctica under a permit issued under the bill. Okay, the permit shall be issued by some specific authority that has been designated within the bill. Extending the jurisdiction of Indian courts to Antarctica for investigation and trial of crimes committed on the Arctic, continent. Okay, Antarctic continent होगा, ठीक है. That means extending the jurisdiction of applicability. This applicability extends the jurisdiction of Indian courts, introduces the regulations to regulate the scientific missions and commercial expeditions do not harm the ecology of the continent as directed under the Madrid Protocol within the Antarctica Treaty. Okay. Now, what is the areas of Antarctica? As I said in the very beginning, anything down south, okay, this is Southern Ocean, right? Southern Ocean whole. Now, this is Ross Sea. This is very important. Ross Sea is very important from geography, from mapping point of view. Okay. So, this anything south of this 60-degree line is a part of Antarctica for the purposes of this bill. Okay, that includes its ice shelves, sea and air down 60-degree latitude. 60-degree latitude के नीचे जितना भी portion, that will be part of Antarctica. That means if a body Indian vessel goes down 60-degree, below 60-degree, then 60-degree latitude, then it becomes a subject of this act or bill. Following its first expedition to Antarctica in 1982, India has now established 2 stations, Maitri and Bharti. Okay. Now, this is Bharti, the recent station that India has established. Okay. So, this is permanently manned by Indians researchers. Okay. And these are the Maitri station. Okay. The Maitri station was established in 1982 itself, and this was established 30 years later in 2012. Okay. This was this is Bharti station. Okay. It is very state of art, and Maitri station now has become defunct. Basically, it now acts as supply base for supplying materials to Bharti station. Okay. Understood? Great. Now, there will be a central committee. Okay, there will be a central committee that the central government will establish a committee on Antarctic governance and environmental protection. Okay, it will be chaired by Secretary of Ministry of Earth Sciences. Secretary of Ministry of Earth Sciences will be an IAS officer. Okay, and the function of committee will include granting permits for various activities, implementing and ensuring compliance to the relevant laws, international laws, for protection of Antarctica environment, obtaining and reviewing information, okay, under the parties to treaty, convention and protocols. And what are the prohibited activities? Nuclear explosion as under Antarctica Treaty. Okay, introduce non-sterile soil. Okay, non-sterile soil because when a non-sterile soil means a soil that contains living organisms. Okay, that cannot be introduced into the environment of Antarctica because environment of Antarctica is very separate from the environment that we live in regularly, and Antarctica is a fossil that can be used to study the evolution of this whole universe, because when we look back into the geological history, Antarctica is the one part of Pangea, right? And as we see that as islands started breaking away, and like or not islands, plates started breaking away, like Indian plate, Australian plate, Nazca plate, Coco plate, and all these plates, South American plate. Okay, these all started moving away, and Antarctica has been left without any traces of humans. Okay, now it will become very interesting to why people are there. People are there to conduct geological research, to study the evolution of Earth itself. Okay, so if any non-sterile soil is introduced into it, so its environment, its soil might get contaminated from that. Okay, discharge of garbage, plastic or other substances which could harm the marine environment. Understood? Now, what are the penalties and offenses? Conducting a nuclear explosion is an offense to which of 20-year punishment or a fine of up to rupees 50 crores can be imposed. Okay. Drilling for mineral resources or introducing non-native animals or plants to Antarctica. Non-native means any species that does not originally belong to that area. Okay. One example of a non-native species is a lizard, house lizard. is non-native species to Indian environment. Or eucalyptus, the tree of eucalyptus is non-native tree to Indian ecology. Okay. So what is the problem with that? Because non-native trees or animals, they become alien species, alien invasive species without any natural predator in the environment where they are introduced, due to which they can alter the geology, they can alter the ecology of the system where they are introduced. Okay, and they can bring a very fundamental change in the ecology. Okay, so Antarctica's ecology needs to be preserved. Okay, and the fine will be up to rupees 10 to 50 lakh and 7 years prison. The central government may notify. Now, like in the PMLA Act, Prevention of Money Laundering Act, that we just talked about, like in that act, the central government has the power to designate any sessions court to act as a special court for enforcement of PMLA Act. Similarly, this bill also provides the central government with power to direct any sessions court to act as a court, a special court for the purposes of this act. Okay, understood? Great. Now I hope you understood the whole India Antarctica Bill and what are these provisions and how far it is going to be. What is the Indian stand on Antarctica? What Antarctica is, why it is global commons. I hope you understood all of that. Okay.